Looking for your next adventure? NerdWallet helps you compare travel and cashback cards to turn your everyday purchases into your next unforgettable experience. NerdWallet is a personal finance company whose mission is to provide clarity for all of life's financial decisions. NerdWallet can help you find the best credit cards, up your credit score, land the perfect mortgage, and so much more. They make it incredibly easy to learn all about finance, with thousands of articles covering every facet of personal finance. With NerdWallet, you can compare and shop for financial products that are the right fit for you without anything to worry about, because it's completely free to sign up. Tell the NerdWallet team more about you, and they'll recommend things like the best credit card for your spending habits, simple ways to up your credit score, and more. So don't wait. Get information from an award-winning team of 80-plus nerds to make even the most complicated money questions and topics easy to understand. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.com. That's NerdWallet.com. Or in app stores by downloading the NerdWallet app.
Coming up.
We all feel it, especially because our community is so small.
For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson. You're listening to The Daily Crime. In June, a body was found on the University of Washington's campus in Seattle. Police have identified the victim as a 56-year-old woman. They are still searching for her killer.
She was a sweet person. She was very kind to allow me to come in her home when I had nowhere to go. And so when I heard about this news, I felt really sad because she was just a sweet, sweet person.
There is no true joy in conforming. But not everyone has what it takes to be different. Introducing a crossover coupe for those who have what it takes to break free. The all-new Infiniti QX55, with a dramatic style that defies expectations and turns heads. The Infiniti QX55. Lead the way. Let the world catch up.
I'm joined now by KING5 News reporter Sebastian Robertson in Seattle, Washington. I want to talk to you about this case, Mavis Nelson. Her body was found back in mid to late June. What do we know about her a little bit before we get started?
Yeah, this story is kind of a heavy one. Mavis Nelson was a mother of three, working jobs throughout her career, odd jobs here and there. And by some accounts, she had attended some college. She was 56 years old, and her body was found in June 20th in Seattle. It was pretty close to the University of Washington on this trail called the Burt Gilman Trail, which is like a bike path that goes for quite a ways here in Western Washington. She was found in June, but wasn't identified until August, and a medical examiner determined that Nelson was killed by stabbed multiple times.
And do we know how family then found out, or how she was identified, or how this all came together for investigators?
Yeah, so, this all starts with somebody, presumably a jogger or somebody on the trail, reporting, a dead body, which, as heavy as that is, those kind of things happen. Seattle police responded, University of Washington police got there, and they determined, she had been stabbed, but there was no, smoking gun, no pun intended. There were, nobody spotted nearby, nobody witnessed the crime happening. So this, kind of got put on the back burner, as it were, and that's my words, not Seattle police. Her body was taken to the medical examiner, and they determined that the death was a stabbing. They also positively ID'd her and determined that her name was Mavis Nelson. And in IDing her, it turned out that she was a missing person. So our assignment desk here in Seattle, Kendra Gilbert, did what she normally does, where she takes missing persons' names and then we'll do a search on social media to see if it pops. Because, hopefully if you go missing, somebody's looking for you, and they'll post on Facebook and Twitter, and that did happen. But in this case, the story went a step further because it turns out that Mavis was missing, but she was also a tribal member of the Yakima tribe and was listed as a missing Indigenous woman. So Kendra found her name listed on a Facebook page for missing Indigenous persons. which, as we'll talk about, is a big issue here in Washington State and also the rest of the country. But found out that, she had a family. She had people in the Yakima tribe that were looking for her. I spoke to her sister, Ernestine Morning Owl, and she was able to call me, step away from her job at a casino here in eastern Washington on the other side of the Cascades, and said she'd kind of lost touch with her sister over the years and didn't even know she was missing until she got that tragic phone call, over the summer saying that her sister had been murdered.
It's been tragic to a lot of us over here, to my family over there that live in the Yakima Valley, and to the other family that she was raised with in Goldendale, because she was fun-loving. She always liked to laugh. She always was a hardworking lady.
And so this, unfortunately, the family was telling me goes into, another statistic of missing Indigenous women. The good part for the family, if there is a bright spot in this, is they did get that closure that their case is not one of these unsolved homicides involving Indigenous victims. So they are able to move forward with some sort of burial, memorial, and I guess that is kind of the bright spot for them in what is otherwise a tragic story.
And just to clarify, and I'm not sure if you'll have this answer, but she was reported missing. Do we know if she was reported missing sometime before her murder for any length of time? In other words, had she vanished perhaps on her own accord for a while and then this horrible event happened, or do we know any more details about that?
Well, the timeline is a little, I don't want to say confusing, but that's the thing with adults. If you want to kind of go off the grid a little bit, if you don't want to call family members back, there's nothing mandating you to keep in touch with your family, let them know your whereabouts, et cetera, et cetera. So by all accounts, she was, in Seattle, living her life, working. She had grown children and kind of just going about her day to day. At some point, enough time passed that somebody said, hey, we haven't seen Mavis in a while. We can't get a hold of her. Unclear if that happened before or after her murder. But by all indications, she hadn't done her normal checks with family members. They got worried, reached out to Seattle police, and then filed that formal missing persons report.
Sebastian, has anything come out of the investigation? Any suspects that we know of at this point?
No suspects listed by Seattle police. No arrest has been made. That doesn't mean that they're not working this, by any means. But as of the time that we reported the story, which was, within the last week or so, no leads announced, no suspects released, no arrests made.
This episode is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana is in the business of driving you happy. And with the widest selection of used cars under $20,000, you're bound to find a car that'll put a smile on your face. They even offer customizable financing so you can plan your down and monthly payments. To shop thousands of affordable vehicles 100% online, download the app or visit Carvana.com. Availability may vary by market.
Sebastian, the Bureau of Indian Affairs reports that Native Americans are murdered, sexually assaulted, become the victims of violent crime at higher rates than the national average. This case certainly puts a spotlight on that really sobering statistic.
Yeah, and especially in Washington State, where we have many tribal members, both what they call federally recognized tribes, and tribes that aren't recognized by the federal government. That's kind of a different topic in itself. Here in Washington State, there was a task force put together by legislators, and they determined that 2,268 unsolved homicides are in Washington State. 5% of those involve an Indigenous victim, but Indigenous people make up less than 2% of the state population. So they are disproportionately impacted by this. There are also statistics that Native Americans are murdered, sexually assaulted, become victims of violent crimes at higher rates than the national average. As you were saying, that's to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And this is an issue that really in the last couple of months, different lawmakers have kind of proposed I don't want to say solutions, but some systems to try to level this out a little bit. Our Attorney General, Bob Ferguson in Washington State, he's asking state leaders to fund a cold case unit focusing on unsolved murders of Indigenous people. And a new kind of program started here on July 1st. Washington State Patrol launched something that they call MIPA, which is the Missing Indigenous Persons Alert System. And this is similar to kind of like an Amber Alert when a child goes missing, or a Silver Alert, when a senior goes missing, and it kind of gets plastered all over billboards, those digital billboards that you see on highways. And a lot of times you'll get a push alert if you're in a meeting, everybody's phone kind of blows up at once. That just went live over the summer, and I actually heard my phone buzz a couple days ago. And this works with, because, as you know, tribes are sovereign nations, and they have their own governments. They have their own police forces. So Washington State Patrol, our state patrol, is going to be working with these tribal liaisons. And there is some criteria. So if there is a missing Indigenous person, there has to be, an active police report that classifies them as a missing person. There also has to be enough information about their last whereabouts, a possible vehicle, description, et cetera, which is, it's kind of a low bar for a missing person, which is a good thing, because then it goes into this alert system, and that is intended to bring more eyes to the issue, and yet to see if it'll yield some results. But I think a lot of people in that community will tell you that it's definitely a step towards a solution for a problem that tribal men and women have been dealing with for, generations.
Well, Sebastian, we hope your reporting on this case and coverage of this case will continue to bring attention and awareness to what's going on, and we hope to hear some updates on this investigation into the murder of this 56-year-old woman in Seattle. Sebastian, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Will. Good chatting.
You've been listening to The Daily Crime, a podcast from Vault Studios. Be sure to check out our other podcasts, including Bardstown, The Officer's Wife, and our weekly show, True Crime Chronicles. For Vault Studios, I'm Will Johnson.